I'm Lauren. I'm 35 years old. I never imagined that this day would become a turning point in my life. It was my mom Catherine's 60th birthday party. That Sunday, everything seemed perfect. A homemade cake, sparkling decorations, smiles all around. I had put all my skills as a real estate agent, built over 8 years, into planning this party. I wanted to show my gratitude to my mother. My brother Paul and his wife Elaine arrived late. They were dressed in matching navy blue outfits. It seemed unnecessarily formal for a family gathering. As champagne was poured and relatives chatted, I felt a sense of family unity I hadn't experienced in a while. But something felt off. Every time Paul and Elaine talked about me, they exchanged glances. It was like they were sharing some private joke. Elaine turned to me and said something that struck me as odd. Lauren seems to be having a hard time lately. Divorce really destabilizes women, especially when you're raising a child alone. It's understandable if you're reaching your mental breaking point. At 8 p.m., Paul stood up with his champagne glass raised. To my wonderful mother on her 60th birthday. And to a new beginning for our family. In that moment, something in the room shifted. As everyone raised their glasses, I felt like I was the only one left out. Like there was some shared knowledge I wasn't part of. That's when my phone rang. It was Amanda. Hello, Amanda? Is everything okay, sweetie? I'm in the middle of Grandma's birthday dinner. Mom, you need to get out. Now. Her voice was shaking. It was urgent and filled with fear. Nothing like the voice of a typical 10-year-old. What happened? What's going on? Please, just trust me. Get out of that house right now. As fast as you can. If you're watching this video, please let us know where you're from in the comments. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I'm about to tell you how my daughter saved me from a terrifying conspiracy orchestrated by my own family. Let me start from the beginning. 2 years ago, my marriage to David ended after 12 years together. The divorce was painful, but necessary. Our constant arguments were poisoning our daughter Amanda's environment. We agreed on shared custody. Amanda would stay with me on weekdays and with him on weekends. David rented an apartment about 20 minutes away. I kept our 3-bedroom house in a good school district. I worked as a real estate agent while raising Amanda. My mother Catherine was my greatest support. Whenever I was busy with work, she would take care of Amanda. Amanda was an extraordinarily perceptive child. At just 10 years old, she could walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional currents. She could tell when someone was hiding something. David used to joke that she'd make a great detective someday. A few months before my mother's birthday, strange things started happening around the house. At first, they were minor. My car keys weren't where I left them. A bracelet disappeared, then reappeared in my jewelry box a week later. Papers on my desk seemed slightly rearranged. I tried to convince myself it was just stress, the forgetfulness that comes with being a single mom. But there were more unsettling things. When I was working at home, I'd sometimes feel eyes watching me through the window. One day, I came home to find the back door unlocked. I was certain I had locked it. When Amanda said she heard footsteps in the hallway at night, I installed a basic security system. As I started planning my mother's birthday party, Paul and Elaine began acting strangely. During planning meetings, they would stop talking whenever I entered the room. One day, I overheard Paul on the phone saying, "She doesn't know anything. Let's keep it that way." When I asked who he was talking to, he brushed me off. He said it was a client. Elaine suddenly became very interested in my life. She kept asking probing questions. Questions about my finances, my relationship with Amanda, my dating life after the divorce. The weekend of the birthday, Amanda went on a camping trip with David. They had planned it months in advance. She was disappointed to miss the party, but I encouraged her to go. Father-daughter time was important too. Looking back now, the fact that Amanda wasn't there that night ultimately saved us both. On the day of the party, I transformed my mother's house into the perfect venue. Twinkling lights, her favorite lilies and hydrangeas, a special memory wall. I arrived 3 hours early to oversee the catering. I paid attention to every detail. My mother was genuinely moved. "You went to so much trouble," she said, tearing up. At 6 p.m., relatives started arriving. Aunt Clara, Uncle Dennis, my cousins. Then Paul and Elaine made their entrance in those strangely formal matching outfits. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but there was tension in the air. Every time I spoke, Paul and Elaine exchanged those looks, like I was the subject of an inside joke. How's the real estate market these days, Lauren? I heard your company had layoffs, Elaine said in a saccharine voice. Amanda seems to be adjusting well to the divorce. But children hide their true feelings, don't they? Every comment seemed calculated, designed to highlight my struggles and vulnerabilities. About an hour into the party, I overheard a conversation. Paul and Uncle Dennis were talking near the hallway bathroom. Everything's in place, Paul was saying. The lawyer says the papers are ready. We just need to get through tonight. Is Catherine on board? Uncle Dennis asked. She knows what she needs to know. The less she knows about certain details, the more convincing it'll be. They noticed me and abruptly switched to talking about the weather. During dinner, my mother was unusually quiet. She smiled and thanked everyone, but something seemed forced. When our eyes met across the table, she quickly looked away. After the main course, my mother excused herself to use the bathroom. 15 minutes passed and she didn't return. I went to check on her. Through the door, I could hear muffled sobs. Mom, are you okay in there? I'm fine, honey. I'll be right out. But she clearly wasn't fine. She was crying. When she emerged, her eyes were red and swollen despite attempts to fix her makeup. Mom, what's wrong? Was the party too much? She shook her head and touched my cheek. No, sweetheart. It's a wonderful party. Really. And she hugged me. It was longer than usual, tighter than usual. When she pulled back, her expression was filled with regret and fear. Before I could ask more, Elaine appeared. There you two are. Paul's about to give a speech. Everyone's waiting. Back in the dining room, Paul stood at the head of the table. He raised his champagne glass with his practiced, charming smile. To my wonderful mother on her 60th birthday. His voice was smooth and rehearsed. And to a new beginning for our family. That phrase, new beginning, sent a chill through me. It felt like everyone knew something I didn't. Something that had already been decided. As everyone raised their glasses, my phone rang. The ringtone cut through the room, interrupting Paul's speech. It was Amanda. Normally, I would let it go to voicemail. But something told me this was important. I'm sorry, it's Amanda. I need to take this. As I walked toward the kitchen, I saw Paul and Elaine exchange another one of those looks. Amanda, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Mom, you need to get out of there right now. Her voice was trembling with fear. What happened? Aren't you camping with your dad? I'm okay, but you're not. Last night, I heard Dad on the phone. He thought I was asleep. He was talking to Uncle Paul about something really bad, Mom. They're planning something terrible. My stomach dropped. What exactly did you hear? Tell me everything. Dad said everything was ready for after the party. He said once they had you recorded or something, they were going to use it against you, to prove you were unstable. Uncle Paul said they just needed you to react the right way when they confronted you. My hands started shaking. What else did you hear? They talked about me too, Mom. Dad said once he got custody, things would be better for everyone. And they talked about Grandma's money. They said once you were out of the picture, they could move forward with the estate planning. My blood ran cold. They weren't just trying to take my daughter. They were also after my mother's assets. And my mother was somehow involved in this. Did you confront your dad about it? No way. I pretended to be asleep. I've been acting normal all day. Right now he thinks I'm reading in the tent. Smart girl. Amanda, I don't want you to go home with your dad after the camping trip. Can you call Aunt Jillian? Jillian was my best friend. Someone Amanda had known her whole life. Tell your dad you're feeling sick. Ask him to take you to Jillian's house instead. Okay, I can do that. But Mom, where are you going to go? That was a good question. I couldn't go home. They thought I was dealing with a water leak there, and I couldn't trust anyone in my family anymore. I'm going to check into a hotel tonight. I'll text you the details once I'm there. After I hung up, I stood frozen in Catherine's kitchen for a few moments. I tried to process what I had just heard. My own brother and ex-husband were plotting against me, and whatever they had planned was supposed to happen tonight at this party. I needed to leave without arousing suspicion. I took a deep breath, composed my features, and walked back into the dining room. I kept my phone in my hand and tried to look concerned, but not panicked. Is everything all right? My mother asked with genuine worry. Actually, no. That was Mrs. Wilson, my neighbor. She says there's a water leak at my house. Water is coming through the ceiling. I'm so sorry, but I need to go deal with this. The lie came surprisingly easily. Adrenaline and fear made it flow naturally. Can it wait until after the party? Paul asked. A flash of annoyance crossed his face. She says it's pretty bad. Water is coming through the light fixtures. I started gathering my purse and coat. I avoided eye contact. Mom, I'm so sorry to run out on your party. I promise I'll make it up to you. My mother stood up, clearly torn. Do you want someone to come with you? Paul or Dennis could help. No, that's okay, I said too quickly. Then I modulated my tone. Really, you all should stay and enjoy the party. I'll call an emergency plumber. Paul was watching me intently. Suspicion was evident in his expression. At least let me walk you out. That's really okay. I know the way. I was already moving toward the door with forced lightness. Love you, Mom. Happy birthday again. I hugged my mother quickly. I noticed how tightly she held on. Then I waved to the rest of the family and hurried out before anyone could insist on coming with me. Once in my car, I immediately locked the doors. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely put the key in the ignition. I started the engine and pulled away from my mother's house. Glancing in the rearview mirror, I saw Paul standing at the living room window. He was watching me leave. The sight sent another chill through me. A few blocks away, I pulled over and called Amanda again. Mom, did you get out? She answered immediately. Yes, I'm in my car. I told them there was a water leak at our house. Tell me exactly what you heard again. Everything. Amanda took a deep breath. Last night, Dad thought I was asleep in the tent. He walked away from the campsite to make a call, but not far enough. I could hear him. He was talking to Uncle Paul. Dad said everything was set for after Grandma's party. They were talking about some plan to record you getting upset or angry. Why would they want that? Though terrible possibilities were already forming in my mind. Dad said they needed to build a case. Evidence of your erratic behavior. Uncle Paul said Aunt Elaine had coached Grandma on what to say to trigger a response from you. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. They talked about me too, Mom. Dad said once he had custody, things would be better for everyone. And Uncle Paul mentioned Grandma's money. He said once you were out of the picture, they could proceed with the estate planning as discussed. I felt physically ill. My own family was conspiring not only to take my daughter, but also to gain control of my mother's assets. And they were using my mother to do it. That night, I checked into a hotel near the interstate. I paid cash for the room. I brought only my purse inside. Once in the room, I turned off my phone. I wasn't ready to deal with the barrage of messages I knew would be coming. I barely slept. I kept replaying conversations and incidents from the past few months. I was seeing them all in a new, sinister light. The missing items in my house. Paul's sudden interest in my finances. Elaine's probing questions about Amanda. It all pointed to a coordinated effort. An effort to undermine me. To paint me as unstable or unfit. The next morning, turning my phone back on was like opening the floodgates. 27 missed calls. 43 text messages. Most were from Paul and my mother. There were a few from other family members who had been at the party. The text started out concerned. Then they grew increasingly urgent. And the last message sent a chill down my spine. Paul's message read, "Whatever Amanda told you is a misunderstanding. We need to talk as a family. This behavior isn't helping your case." Your case. The exact phrasing Amanda had overheard. It confirmed her warning wasn't a misunderstanding or a child's imagination. Something real was happening. I called Jillian. She was the one person outside my family I felt I could trust completely. "Lauren, where are you? Your brother called here looking for you last night." Jillian sounded worried. I explained the situation. Amanda's call and warning. The odd behavior I'd noticed. My escape from the party. There was a long pause before Jillian responded. "Lauren, I didn't want to get involved in family matters, but Paul came to see me last week." My stomach dropped. "What did he want?" "He said he was concerned about you. That you'd been acting paranoid. Claiming people were watching you or coming into your house. He asked if I'd noticed any erratic behavior." I felt physically ill. "What did you tell him?" "I told him you seemed completely fine to me, Lauren. I've known you for 20 years. I told him he was way off base. But he seemed so convinced, so concerned. He said other family members had noticed changes in your behavior too." "Jill, they're setting me up. I don't know exactly why. but they're trying to make me look unstable. They want to take Amanda. Jillian was quiet for a moment. I know someone who might be able to help. My cousin Marcus is a private investigator. He's discreet and thorough. Want me to call him? Yes, please. I was desperate for allies, for information. An hour later, Jillian arrived with a suitcase of clothes. She brought her cousin Marcus with her. He was a serious-looking man in his 40s. His kind eyes contrasted with his otherwise stern appearance. Marcus got straight to business. We need to establish some facts. Do you have any evidence of these plans your daughter overheard? Just what she told me. And this. I showed him the email from my mother's financial advisor on my phone. The subject line read, Updated estate planning documents for review. I hadn't requested any documents. I had no idea what changes had been made to my mother's estate plan. The attachment required a password I didn't have. Marcus nodded. That's a start. We need more. Financial records, communications, anything that shows coordination between your brother and ex-husband. Over the next 3 days, Marcus worked diligently. He used methods I sometimes preferred not to know about. Jillian stayed with Amanda at her house while I remained at the hotel. I only ventured out when necessary. I avoided my family's increasingly desperate attempts to contact me. On the 4th day, Marcus arrived at my hotel room with a thick folder. I've got something, he said without preamble. Your mother changed her will and trust 3 weeks ago. The new documents remove you as a beneficiary and trustee. They cite concerns about your mental stability. Paul is now the sole trustee. I felt like I'd been punched. That's impossible. My mother would never do that. There's more. Marcus laid out document after document. Emails, financial statements, even medical consultation notes. Notes from a psychiatrist I had never met. Yet they had detailed records about my supposed paranoia and instability. They've been building this case methodically, Marcus explained, creating a paper trail of your alleged mental decline. The plan, as far as I can tell, was to confront you at the birthday party, record your reaction, and use that as the final evidence they needed. But why? What do they gain? Control of your mother's substantial estate, custody of your daughter, and by extension, the child support and other financial benefits that come with custody. I remembered the whispered conversation between Paul and Uncle Dennis. The papers are ready. They had been planning to have me declared mentally unfit, to take everything from me. There's one more thing you should know, Marcus said, his expression grave. Based on these documents, your mother appears to have been aware of at least some of this plan. That revelation hurt more than anything else. My own mother, who I thought was my greatest ally, had apparently been part of this conspiracy. But she was crying in the bathroom, I said, more to myself than to Marcus. She seemed sad, regretful. People can be pressured into things they don't fully understand or agree with, Marcus suggested, especially older individuals when family members they trust are doing the pressuring. I nodded, trying to hold back tears. What do we do now? Now we go on the offensive, Marcus said firmly. They've been building a case against you. We're going to build one against them. As painful as these discoveries were, they also brought a strange sense of relief. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't paranoid. There was a real conspiracy. And now I had proof. More importantly, I had a fighting chance to protect myself and my daughter. With Marcus's help, I began gathering my own evidence. We discovered that Paul had been in financial trouble for months. His investment firm was losing clients after a series of poor decisions. The promise of controlling my mother's substantial estate provided a convenient solution to his problems. David, my ex-husband, had recently lost his job. He was 3 months behind on his rent. The prospect of full custody of Amanda would mean increased child support from me, not to mention access to the trust fund my mother had established for Amanda's education. Elaine, it turned out, was the architect of much of the plan. Her background in psychology made her particularly effective. She knew how to gaslight me. She knew how to coach others on how to make me appear unstable. The more we uncovered, the clearer the picture became. This wasn't a sudden decision or a misunderstanding. This was a calculated, months-long conspiracy. A conspiracy to destroy my life for financial gain. Armed with the evidence Marcus had gathered, I decided it was time to stop hiding and start fighting back. My first move was strategic rather than emotional. Instead of confronting everyone at once, I would approach them individually. I would use what I knew to gauge their true involvement. Maybe I could even find allies. I started with David. I arranged to meet him at a public cafe. Marcus could observe from a distance. When David arrived, he looked simultaneously angry and concerned. It was an expression I recognized from our marriage. The look he had whenever he was trying to manipulate a situation. Lauren, what the hell is going on? You disappear for days. Amanda's staying with Jillian. Everyone's worried sick. His voice carried just the right note of concerned ex-husband. It was loud enough for nearby patrons to hear. I kept my voice calm and level. I know about the plan, David. I know what you and Paul were trying to do. His expression flickered, but he recovered quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. Paul and your mother are concerned about your mental health. That's all. These paranoid delusions aren't helping your case. There was that phrase again. Your case. I slid a folder across the table. This contains copies of emails between you and Paul. Emails discussing how to have me declared mentally unfit so you could get custody of Amanda and access to my mother's money. Do you want to revise your statement? David opened the folder. His face paled as he scanned the first few pages. He closed it quickly and looked around. He lowered his voice. Look, you're misunderstanding the situation. We were concerned about you. The way you've been acting. Talking about people watching you. Things moving in your house. Things that were actually happening because you or someone you were working with was coming into my house. Setting me up. I leaned forward. Amanda overheard you on the phone with Paul during your camping trip. That's why I left the party. That's why I've been in hiding. David's expression hardened. You're using our daughter against me now? Having her spy and make up stories? She didn't make anything up. She heard you planning to record me at the party. To use it as evidence. Tell me I'm wrong, David. He was silent for a long moment, calculating his options. Finally, he sighed. It wasn't my idea. Paul came to me with concerns about your behavior. He said your mother was worried too. He had documentation from doctors, witnesses. Fake documentation. I've never seen those doctors. How were you supposed to know that? David ran a hand through his hair. It was a gesture I recognized from our marriage. The gesture he made when he was caught in a lie. Look, I just wanted what was best for Amanda. Paul convinced me you were having some kind of breakdown. Then, yes, he mentioned that if I had custody, there would be financial benefits. But it wasn't about the money. It was absolutely about the money. You're 3 months behind on rent, David. You lost your job and didn't tell me. Were you even going to continue paying child support? His face reddened. You've been investigating me? You were plotting to take my daughter and destroy my reputation. Did you think I wouldn't fight back? I stood up. I'm giving you one chance to back out of this. Tell Paul and anyone else involved that you're done. Admit to Amanda that you lied. Or the next time we talk will be through my lawyer. You're threatening me now? David's voice rose. After keeping my daughter from me for days? This isn't helping your case, Lauren. It's just proving our point. I leaned down, keeping my voice steady. I have recorded this entire conversation, David. I have the emails. I have Amanda's testimony about what she overheard. If you try to take my daughter, I will fight you with everything I have, and I will win. I walked out, leaving him staring after me. My next confrontation was with my mother. I asked her to meet me at a restaurant, different from where I'd met David. Again, Marcus was watching discreetly. When she arrived, she looked exhausted. Her face was lined with worry. She rushed to hug me, but I stepped back. I wasn't ready for physical contact yet. Lauren, thank God. I've been so worried. Where have you been? Why did you run off like that? Her concern seemed genuine, which made what I had to do even harder. Mom, I know about the changes to your will and trust. I know about the plan to have me declared mentally unfit. My mother's face crumpled. Oh, Lauren. She sat down heavily. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Explain why you would agree to cut me out of your will. To help Paul and David take Amanda away from me. Tears filled her eyes. That's not what I agreed to. Paul said you were having problems. That you needed help but wouldn't admit it. He showed me reports from doctors. Statements from friends. He said the legal maneuvers were just to ensure you got the help you needed. That everything would go back to normal afterward. And you believed him without even talking to me? He had so much evidence, Lauren. And there were things I'd noticed myself. You seemed anxious. talking about missing items, feeling watched. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I never agreed to them taking Amanda permanently or cutting you out completely. Paul said it was all temporary, just until you were better. I showed her the actual documents she had signed. This isn't temporary, Mom. This permanently removes me as your beneficiary and trustee. Did you even read what you were signing? She looked at the papers in confusion. That's not what Paul explained to me. He said these were just precautionary measures. He lied to you. They all did. They're after your money and my daughter, and they used you to make it happen. My mother's hands trembled as she processed this. I never wanted to hurt you, Lauren. You have to believe that. Paul was so convincing, and he had Elaine backing him up with all her psychology expertise. They made me feel like I was helping you. I wanted to believe her, but the betrayal was too fresh. If you want to make this right, you need to revoke these documents immediately. And you need to tell everyone involved that you made a mistake, that you don't believe I'm unstable. Of course I will. She reached for my hand again. This time I let her take it. Lauren, I am so sorry. I should have trusted my instincts. At the party, I knew something wasn't right. That's why I was crying in the bathroom. It felt wrong, but Paul had me so confused. My confrontation with Paul was the most volatile. He came to the meeting already defensive. He had heard from both David and my mother. You've been busy, he said as he sat down across from me in the third cafe I'd chosen, filling Mom's head with your paranoid theories. Threatening David. Not theories, Paul. Facts. I placed a recorder on the table between us. This conversation is being recorded, just so we are clear. His jaw tightened. More evidence of your unstable behavior. Let's cut the act. I have the emails between you and David. I have the fake medical reports you created. I have evidence that you've been entering my house without permission. I have everything. Paul's expression didn't change, but I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. You don't have anything except a persecution complex. Mom and I were trying to help you. You need professional help, Lauren. What I need is for you to back off. Revoke the changes to Mom's will. Leave Amanda alone. Admit what you've done. Or I'll take everything I have to the police. Fraud, conspiracy, breaking and entering. How does that sound for your financial career? Paul's facade cracked, his face flushed with anger. You think you've won? You have no idea what you're up against. Even if Mom backs out, I still have enough to convince a judge you're unfit. One emotional outburst. One scene in public. That's all I need. Is that why you're trying to provoke me right now? Hoping I'll make a scene? He smiled coldly. You always were too smart for your own good. Paul leaned forward. This isn't over, Lauren. Not by a long shot. You think you can turn Mom against me? I've been her favorite for 40 years. You think you can scare David off? He's desperate for money. And Elaine has contacts throughout the psychological community who will back up our claims. Why, Paul? Is it really just about money? Your firm is failing. I know that. But to destroy your own sister's life? Something dark flickered across his face. You've always had it easy. The golden child who could do no wrong. Mom's perfect daughter with her perfect life. Even after your divorce, you landed on your feet. Meanwhile, I've worked my ass off for everything I have, and it's slipping away because of one bad investment year. The raw jealousy in his voice surprised me. All these years, I thought he was the favorite, the successful one. So this is revenge? Punishment for some perceived slight? This is survival. Paul stood up. You had your chance to go quietly, to accept help for your condition. You chose war instead. Don't be surprised by the casualties. He walked out, leaving his threat hanging in the air. Despite Paul's threats, his position was rapidly deteriorating. With my mother revoking the documents, David cooperating, and evidence piling up, his plan was falling apart. I hired Sarah Chen, a family court attorney with a reputation for handling high-conflict custody cases. We filed motions to dismiss David's emergency custody petition. We included affidavits from Jillian and other friends attesting to my mental stability and parenting abilities. We also filed a counter motion detailing the conspiracy. We requested that David's visitation with Amanda be supervised until the case was resolved. My mother worked with an independent lawyer to create a new will, this time with ironclad provisions that couldn't be changed through manipulation. David agreed to provide a full written statement detailing the conspiracy and his involvement. In exchange, He received supervised visitation rights with Amanda. 3 months after that fateful phone call from Amanda, the family court judge dismissed all claims against me. The judge didn't just dismiss the claims. She issued a stern rebuke. She called it a disturbing attempt to use the family court system as a weapon in a personal vendetta. The judge also issued a restraining order against Paul. He was prevented from contacting me or Amanda. As news of Paul's actions spread through his professional circles, his already struggling firm faced further client departures. Elaine chose to distance herself from Paul as their relationship deteriorated. 3 months after the court officially dismissed David's custody petition and issued the restraining order against Paul, I was still processing everything that had happened. The acute danger had passed, but the emotional aftermath remained. How do you recover from a betrayal so fundamental, so calculated, by the people who were supposed to love you most? Amanda and I settled back into our home. We installed a comprehensive security system that helped us both sleep better at night. We established new routines: weekend pancake breakfasts, movie nights with elaborate pillow forts, bike rides around the neighborhood. Slowly, our house began to feel like a safe haven again, rather than a place that had been violated. Family bonds slowly began to repair. The relationship with my mother was rebuilt on a new, more honest foundation. David completed the required therapy and parenting classes. He showed up consistently for supervised visitation. He respected the established boundaries. He made genuine efforts to listen to Amanda rather than imposing his own agenda. After 2 months of supervised visits, Amanda told me she felt comfortable with occasional unsupervised time. We started with short outings to public places, gradually extending to longer visits as trust rebuilt. Elaine was the only one who never attempted meaningful reconciliation. She and Paul separated a month after the court case. She moved to another state to rebuild her career. Paul's journey toward accountability took longer. After the initial shock of his legal defeat and professional repercussions, he swung between angry denial and desperate attempts to justify his actions. It was 6 weeks before Paul sent a letter that showed the first glimmers of genuine accountability. "I've started therapy," he wrote. "My therapist says I need to take responsibility for my actions without qualifications or excuses. So here it is. What I did was wrong, not because it failed, but because it was a violation of trust and family bonds. I was so focused on my financial problems and my own resentments that I convinced myself the end justified the means. I know words mean little at this point, but I am sorry, Lauren. Truly sorry." I didn't respond immediately. I took time to consider whether his apology was sincere or just another manipulation. Above all, the bond between Amanda and me had only grown stronger. Her courage in warning me, her resilience during the legal proceedings, her wisdom beyond her years. All of it had saved us both. "You know what, Mom?" she said one evening. We were sitting on our porch swing, finally feeling safe in our own home again. "I think we are going to be okay." Looking at my brave, perceptive daughter, I knew she was right. Whatever came next, we would face it together, stronger for having weathered this storm. 6 months later, we had established a new normal. We had ensured our safety with a comprehensive security system. We had built new family relationships based on trust. My mother spent time with us and rebuilt trust through shared moments. David gradually repaired his relationship with Amanda through consistent effort. Paul eventually began therapy and sent his first letter taking real responsibility. Family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's a brave 10-year-old girl who tells the truth when conspiracies swirl around her. Sometimes it's friends who become your shelter in the storm. And sometimes, if you're fortunate, it's relatives who earn their way back into your heart through genuine remorse and changed behavior. I haven't completely forgiven everyone involved in the conspiracy against me. Forgiveness is a process, not a destination. Some wounds leave permanent scars. But what I do know is that Amanda and I survived. We are stronger. We are wiser. We are ready to build a future defined by trust rather than betrayal. If you've ever faced betrayal from those closest to you, I hope our story reminds you that healing is possible, that boundaries are necessary, and that forgiveness is yours to give or withhold as you see fit. Have you ever had to rebuild trust with someone who deeply hurt you? What helped you move forward? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if our story resonated with you, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into.